Emma is a musician, a cellist, and her primary concentration is composition. She's in the middle of her doctoral degree in music, a Doctor of Musical Arts, a DMA. Her end goal? She doesn't really know. She just knows that she loves music. If she ends up teaching, conducting, composing, or starting her own business, it doesn't really matter. She'll do whatever it takes to make music. Some of her friends and colleagues invite her to a house show. It's different from classical chamber music. It's an intimate show with only about 10 or 15 people in attendance. They fill a living room with improvised lighting, mostly LEDs in a pinkish purple hue. Her friend Dan, the saxophonist, with another young man and woman, with various trinkets, pots, pans, strings, coins, plastic, glass, and many other found objects, as well as a computer, all get behind the speakers into the performer's corner. The trio begins setting up. Emma's watched these kinds of house show formats on YouTube, but this was her first time in person. Some of her favorite cellists, musicians who she admires, looks up to, have performed these free improvised sets. The free improvisation is a far cry from the Bach cello suites and romantic cello concertos she's familiar with. Dan starts on his saxophone playing quietly. He plays with a microphone inside of his saxophone. The woman next to Dan starts dropping her metal trinkets on a sheet made to bake cookies. The man beside Dan is buried in his computer, but solely focused on his music program, vigorously moving his finger along his laptop's trackpad. Dan starts making these chirping, squeaking noises, and suddenly you hear iterations and looping on the speakers in different directions. Left, right, center, left, center, right. There's no coordination, and yet she notices total cohesion between the three. Each performer is a virtuoso playing their own solo, yet sensitive and contributing to each other's sound. At first, Emma is overstimulated, anxious about what's going on. She thinks, what are they doing? She fidgets awkwardly because she's not sure if what's going on is laughable or embarrassing. What would my parents think, my classical music friends? Slowly but surely, time starts to fade and the trio's chaos becomes a fascinating tableau of sonic color and texture. Emma begins to think less about her family or friends and more about supporting what Dan and his trio are doing. Something in her shows her it's not about talent, perfection, or even ability, but rather about the experience, the beauty of the people in front of her, the excitement of possibility and the beauty of the potential and unknown. Together, Dan's trio is putting seemingly random components into order. After about 20 minutes of playing, the trio fade all their noise to silence, and suddenly a man to Emma's left starts clapping, and then the whole room erupts in whistles, hollers, and congratulations. Emma wakes up from the focused enjoyment of the trio's music making. She goes up to Dan and asks, "How'd you do that?" Dan replies, "I don't know. I just get out of my head and listen to Adriana and Ryan. What they do, I try to respect. Sometimes I match it, sometimes I do my own thing." Emma responds, "But how do you even begin to improvise without it sounding like random noise?" She laughed. Dan answered, "You just gotta start and trust that it's gonna work out." Emma drove home listening to her favorite piece by Bach, Harpsichord Concerto No. 1 in D minor, BWV 1052. She wonders, how was this written 300 years ago? Complete order from a complete mess of chaos, taking principles of sound and organizing it into a completely functional, repeatable, yet infinitely variable harmony. Why would we feel compelled to imitate this but with complete and utter freedom, both equally and uniquely beautiful? In Makoto Fujimura's book Culture Care, Reconnecting with Beauty for Our Ordinary Life, he writes, "Effective stewardship leads to generative work and a generative culture. We turn wheat into bread, and bread into community. We turn grapes into wine, and wine into occasions of joyful camaraderie, conviviality, conversation, and creativity. We turn materials into paints, and paints into works that lift the heart or stir the spirit. We turn ideas and experiences into imaginative worlds for sheer enjoyment and to expand the scope of our empathy." This idea of creating something new from old or something from some other thing is as ancient as time and space itself, but as modern as crafting in a video game like Minecraft. To be clear, this kind of creation is not ex nihilo, or something out of nothing. Rather, these cases of beauty are taking pre-made chaos into order. Emma, in our story, and Fujimura are having similar experiences. In Emma's case, it's taking different potentials of sound, physics God has preformed, into order. In Fujimura's case, it might be material like paint or metal or gold and assembling them into an order on a canvas or a sculpture. In both, we experience beauty by admiring what was once chaos into order. Despite buildings being made of crude concrete, wood, or steel, we can admire that these disparate materials have been expertly assembled to see from afar and enjoy by inhabiting and gathering together inside. We can additionally admire them for their safety and trust, that they won't collapse on us. Our homes, places of work, the coffee shops we patronize, all reflect the beauty of God's world, showing us that any case can be put into order, that any chaos can be put into order. We can all share a moment when beauty hits us like a semi-truck. These moments catch us off guard. This admiration and life change affects us. We are so filled with hope and encouragement of beauty that we often forget that we did not consent to it happening to us. The lighting of a Christmas tree, the unexpected sunset, or the first time at the symphony. We often don't pursue beauty. Instead, beauty seeks us. Beauty happens to us. But sometimes we need to be reminded of something beautiful, to see the chaos being brought into order before our very eyes, before we can appreciate and enjoy, share that beauty with others. When was the last time you saw someone make something as intricate as wine or a cigar? How might we stop ourselves, discipline ourselves to get out of our heads and answer unasked questions? Like Emma, how might we stop thinking about ourselves, our own image, and begin to celebrate, admire, and share how God brings chaos into order in the people around us? Instead of stumbling upon beauty, what are some things we might practice to pursue, admire, and share the goodness of God and how He's consistently putting chaos into order? This and more in today's episode of Beholding Beauty. This episode of Beholding Beauty podcast is brought to you by 633 Collective, a network of Christian artists and patrons who seek to bring beauty in every art form for the glory of God. Learn more at 633collective.com. And if you like what we do here at Beholding Beauty, please consider financially supporting us at patreon.com/633collective. Check out our tiers, toss a few bucks, and enjoy behind-the-scenes content, bonus episodes, and early access seasons. Join now at patreon.com/633collective.
And welcome to the Beholding Beauty podcast. I'm your co-host, Andrew West. I'm joined with Carl Kempel and Jake Thiede. And we're going to be talking a little bit about what is beauty. And on that note, Carl, what is beauty?
Yeah, I think the two things we want to dig into today is actually just giving really clear definitions of what we mean by beauty. And so the two kind of structures or definitions that can help us to work with is the idea of beautifying, which is not limited to male or female, but any human in particular. But things can be beautified by taking chaos and putting it into order. Like we see that in Genesis 1, it's inherently God's nature. Humans are particularly given that gift to take chaos and putting it into order. So we're going to mention that theme and flesh that out today. But we'll also talk about it throughout the week and weekend in different parts of the podcast as well. And so we'll reference that as to beautify something. And then the other working definition we'll work with is that beauty in and of itself has some level of, when you encounter it, that it is perfect or put together, or there's it's some kind of chaos has gotten into order, and you're moved to go explore it. You're moved by curiosity. Like curiosity wells up inside of you. Like, I'm trying to understand how this got the way it is. And you naturally want to move towards it and engage with it. And then the other side of beauty is it's so pristine. It's so well put together. There's a mystery to it of like, you can articulate how it got there, but you may not be able to articulate the why. Always of like, why is this beautiful? I don't know. It just is. So there's this inherent beauty, and then there's this articulate beauty. Like in physical beauty, we find that in biology, we can articulate. We can say that a symmetrical face is a more beautiful face. It works. It's more mathematically sound. So therefore, it's like, great. Science says this is beautiful. And yet, when you encounter that person who has that symmetrical face, there's something where you're like, I don't understand. And leaving it at that mystery, I think, allows it to remain beautiful. And so we want to live in between those two spaces of exploring and understanding and enjoying and delighting in the mystery of this doesn't make sense. And so while that's philosophical, those are the two big ideas we're going to run with today.
How does that contrast with, we typically, like, if a lot of languages are gendered and masculine and feminine. And so typically, like in English at least, beautiful is, we compliment ladies for being beautiful and then men for being handsome. Do you see those as same or different in some capacity, that something can be handsome
yeah,
as something is beautiful?
Yeah, well, and to some of our listeners may not have experienced this, but the book Pride and Prejudice actually refers to women very often as and as they say, and she was quite handsome. And so the understanding of we're using the handsome and beauty as relatively synonymous in this context, but to say like a man is beautiful or a woman is beautiful, it's not limited to either gender. Or to say a man can beautify something just like a woman can beautify something as well. And we'll dig into that more in the next few minutes. But not wanting it to be limited.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I thought it was a good thing to that's the top of mind. Like you think of beautiful things, and I think speaking as a man, you get insecure about noticing things that are beautiful because it's maybe like if you're insecure about your manliness too, of your manhood, that's the primary reason. But then, just thinking in terms of the spectrum of listener that we have, it's like, why would I listen to anyone rant and rave about beauty in general?
Yeah. And I think even part of the podcast is to help men in particular recapture the joy and mystery of beauty. Like it's not limited to women. Now, I think women have a bent towards beauty in a different way that we put a lot of emphasis on, but the bricklayer who builds this beautiful, or the cathedral worker or the shipbuilder can make something absolutely stunning and beautiful as well. And so for men to like take hold of, it's actually a really masculine and manly thing to create beautiful things. I want us to recapture that in our culture because men are afraid of venturing into it by being accused or shamed. And I think we as Christian men know, like, when you encounter beauty and make it just changes things. And we want to offer that blessing to others.
Absolutely.
So, Andrew, I want you to kick us off because I know you spent a lot of time thinking about this, of like that chaos into order. Can you unpack some of that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Just in the beginning of Scripture in Genesis, when the story of creation is being told, the Lord is speaking like order in the midst of chaos. But at the same time, there's a piece of like when something was first created, there is almost an element of chaos involved. And so let there be the earth and it has form. There's still an element of chaos that's involved with that. Like let it be filled with birds and animals and the plants and everything else that fills creation. There is an element of chaotic energy that's involved with all the different elements that are there. And then we get brought into like a garden, something that's been concisely arranged and given space for man to be dropped into. Of this is a picture of what's available and what's possible in creation is this organization and order that's available that the Lord has shown Adam when he's first created, that we can not only step into a chaotic space without being impacted by it negatively, but we can also step into a chaotic space and bring order based off of what the Lord has shown us how to do. So we're able to operate in his likeness. Like, we're created in his image, and in that same vein, we're able to operate similar to him, of bringing order about chaos whenever we engage with chaos. We have an opportunity to actually bring order through that process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that can apply to so many different things, of the beauty found in nature. It's like there's the chaos in the oceans, or how we organize food on our plates. That's like chaos coming into order. And different people with their vocations move the chaos into a different space of order. And the farmer who tills the ground is beautifying the earth, and the chef who plates it to the server who's kind to you. Or even another, like the chaos into order is like there's dissonance in a relationship. There's arguing, there's fighting, and actually choosing to go, we're going to beautify this relationship by having clarity between one another. And that reconciliation is the beautifying of the relationship. And it can be both masculine and feminine in the beautification process. Those are just a couple examples that I'm thinking about.
I find it interesting, like reframing and redeeming maybe the term chaos, because it's kind of maybe associated with inherently evil or bad, or but it's sort of a necessary component of beauty, that they kind of rely on each other, like that it's not like evil and good, to be sure, but we can curate, because we are God's creatures, we are made in his image, we can still curate and control chaos and control order. And I find that just really interesting, that we're having this kind of conversation and trying to and reminding ourselves that chaos is something that part of God's design, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even, I mean, depending on what your belief about when did sin start, or when did sin enter in human history or God's creation, like that's a high theological point we don't need to get into. But the chaos exists before sin enters into the world. And so we don't need to view chaos as evil or bad. It's just we want to move it towards beauty. And that's part of the gospel work that Jesus does, and then our work throughout our daily life. And so it's not just work belongs to men and raising children belongs to women. It's like we all have work to do in taking chaos and putting it into order. I was thinking about, Andrew's talking about things in its early stages are oftentimes more chaotic. And Jake, you as a dad, like your chaos
3-year-old
kiddos.
twins and a 1-year-old boy, and they exude chaos, and that's not a bad thing. It's just part of life, that we need it to show us that we all grow and change and become more ordered ourselves. And it's part of God's design, God's good design. And it's helpful to have a biblical lens and a lens through Christ fulfills everything in his death, burial, and resurrection, and consummation of coming back and consummating all things, that he's in control of it all at the end of the day, and we trust in him, both chaos and order.
Yeah, that's good. So we want to have our like predispositions for beauty and how we see chaos and move it into order, but we also want to encourage our listeners for them to explore and discover this as well. But just take a minute or so and share in some of the ways that you have a propensity to, like, what's a particular way you like to beautify the world and taking it from chaos and putting it into order?
I think for me in this season right now, I just recently got married. And so something that's been very helpful in like bringing order into just my house has been helping take care of my wife in the morning and making sure that she's set for her day, because that helps enable her to have a good day, which in turn allows us both to have a good day. It's like, sometimes you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and if nobody's there to like help you get to the right side, it can throw off your whole day. And so just intentionally taking time, like I'm the one that's up first, and I'll make coffee for us both. And so it's just making sure like I'm taking care of my wife by making sure she has coffee in the morning. And that's just one small like intentional thing that I do to make sure I'm going to help put this day into order.
That's good.
Mine is just cleaning the house and just, yeah, especially I'm in the messy middle with small children. And so at the end of every night, we try to encourage them to clean up their messes in some capacity, in whatever capacity they can. And it's not perfect at all. And sometimes we just forego it and just say, hey, like we'll go to bed. Like it's time to get, and, but after that, regardless of how that's turned out, we just take 30 minutes. And me and my wife are both creative people, practitioners. I'm in music. She's a dancer. And, we have a tendency to leave things really messy and we're not organizers at all by any stretch of the imagination. So we like living in the chaos. Well, we don't like living in the chaos. Like it stresses us out. But I think that, because we are so hyper focused on one thing over another, that we let our house get into a state of disrepair. But then us having the discipline to take 30 minutes to clean everything and beautify our house, that the floor is clean, totally all the toys and knickknacks are picked up from the floor, our bookshelves are perfectly ordered, all the books are put away, we try to read, and then kitchen's clean. And so then and then it also is a breath of fresh air that in the morning we can wake up to that beauty of a clean living room and a clean kitchen. And I think, going back to like, maybe for a long time I asked, I was just like, why am I the way that I am, that I'm okay with lots of mess around the house? And like you're staying with us for a couple of days, and you walk through my bedroom and shower, and they were just complete disarray. And I was really wrestling that for a while, but a sort of know thyself moment was just reading, and maybe it was a podcast I listened to, that like creative people kind of are like the chaos because they can see things in different ways, like in different order. Like if everything's the same way, the same time and organized, there's no new possibilities. And I was just like, that's a good comfort. I should still clean my room. I should still like flush the toilet, clean the shower, like the bathtub. Like, so, it's like, there's like creativity, but then there's just being a total complete slob and just being lazy. So that's where I land on that with chaos, at least.
Yeah. Well, I think just to that point, like it never truly gets perfect. Like on this side, on the other side of the cross, like Christ has perfected it, but we haven't seen the consummation of that yet. So anytime you're in the process of beautifying something, you're making it more beautiful. And that's the crucial piece. It's not that I get it to its perfection and praise the Lord, we're done. Like it's like, no, there's always going to be chaos in our lives till the day we die. Like we're gonna encounter it every day, but just getting it a little more organized. And if you're an artist and you need to live in that propensity of a little bit more chaos because you have a higher tolerance threshold because you want to create new things, that's fabulous. I also want to encourage our accountants who are like ultra organized and like everything is in its perfect place. That's also a different type of organizing, just like men who build the house versus the women who beautify it, and vice versa, because there are women who are at the more raw part of beautifying things, and there are men who are in the more finesse portions of it. But that encouragement of knowing like I'm in the process of making it beautiful as well. So I think one of the ones for me, just to jump in as well, being a single person, I'm engaged right now, but not married. I don't have a wife or kids to be taken care of right now. But some of what I get to do is the volume of time that I have is I get to do a lot of like widows ministry and ministry in nursing homes. And one of the ways I like to see it is see someone who is forgotten or may not have relationships. And even if it's just a short, like 1 hour window of watching someone go, wow, someone still cares about me, and watching like their emotional state move into a place of peace and move into a place of order. And by all means, I'm stoked to be married, but also enjoying the freedoms that I have in this season and utilizing them for the Lord. And so, but working or coach, like I'm a coach, and coaching someone to the place where they're emboldened and they might have this chaotic thing, this belief that they have that's in the way, that's keeping them from embracing all that God has for them, and actually removing that obstacle is a form of beautifying, where they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this, or this thing's no longer in the way, or at least I have a plan to overcome this, or I feel empowered. That's like how I really enjoy beautifying. And the last one is taking that coaching mindset with a senior adult or a widow who's like, oh, I'm old, I'm about to die, I've got nothing left in my life. And they're like, wait, God has put me here to be a blessing to other people. And there's one who like prays for our church and our ministry, and you feel those prayers. And the last one is she'll like call other people. She'll just call other people in the ministry and just check in on them. How are they doing? And watching that transformation in her has just been beautiful to see that come about.
Beauty is not loud. It doesn't argue or insist. It simply appears in the curve of a leaf, the hush before snowfall, the way light rests on a familiar face, and for a moment, we're pulled out of ourselves. We often think beauty lives in grand places, the vastness of the Grand Canyon, the stillness of Mount Fuji at dawn, but just as often it waits in smaller places, steam rising from a cup of tea, a laugh shared across a table, a quiet act of kindness no one else sees. Beauty asks nothing from us except attention. But when we give it, even briefly, something inside us softens. The mind loosens its grip. The heart remembers how to feel without defense. Beauty is something we notice, and in noticing, we become a little more present, a little more whole. Sit with that. Where in this moment is beauty already waiting? This episode of Beholding Beauty podcast is brought to you by 633 Collective, a network of Christian artists and patrons who seek to bring beauty in every art form for the glory of God. Learn more at 633collective.com. And if you like what we do here at Beholding Beauty, please consider financially supporting us at patreon.com/633collective. Check out our tiers, toss a few bucks, and enjoy behind-the-scenes content, bonus episodes, and early access seasons. Join now at patreon.com/633collective.